Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrack. Huge shout out to all the iTrack fans tapping in to watch another one with me, man. I appreciate you guys. Quite a few interesting clips today, so go ahead and put your thinking caps on, man. Let's get right into it.
People who can astrally project refuse to talk about the crucifixion. It's because you literally can't astrally project to it. People who have tried, there's some spiritual energy that just blocks them from being able to witness it at all. And so people who have astrally projected themselves back there, they don't even want to be involved. This is a known thing in the psychic community. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just thought it was interesting that there's conspiracy theories about the crucifixion, which I had never heard of before.
Well, I'm super interested in that. That is my next fixation.
Okay, I'm going to try to pause it.
Is rating in MMA.
Okay, now we're going to take a look closer. What the hell happened to this guy's face?
But he has UFC and what his ambitions were. However,
I'm going to slow this video down.
the Neanderthal remained quite modest in his statements. He said that right now he is reigning in MMA, but he hasn't been doing it long enough to think about plans and prospects. However,
They did a good job recruiting him because he's definitely somebody I want to see in the MMA ring.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. So this is insane. There's officially a new COVID-19 variant that's called NB181 that is spreading through the US. Okay. They're saying that this new variant is associated with the same symptoms that were shown in the earlier strains of the virus. And they're also saying that the commonly reported symptoms so far are cough, sore throat, fever, and fatigue. Biohackers have now officially developed a night vision eye drop to let you see in the dark. Whoa. They're saying that they took a compound that's found in fish that live in deep waters and they put it in eye drops and it literally gives you night vision, and they're saying that the symptoms go away by morning and there are no side effects. So that's suspicious. Japan has now created the first ever artificial womb that enables embryos to grow outside of the body. If this doesn't sound robotic, I don't know what does. Scientists are now claiming that if humans were to ever go extinct, then octopus would actually have the best chance to build the next civilization. So we have a little bit of hope. If you haven't heard about this yet, the FDA has now expanded the cucumber recall after a salmonella outbreak is now in 15 different states. This expansion actually includes a ton of products that are sold in so many different stores. So if you want to see the full video, just go on my page. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
I know Tom from MySpace, which was before Facebook. He told me the exact story of when he met Mark Zuckerberg. MySpace 05, it had more daily visits than Google in 05. Tom's like, man, I was on top of the world. I didn't listen to anybody. This young kid came up to me at a conference, said, hi, Tom, I know you're the king. I got this new thing called the Facebook. And, but it's not going viral. It's not that interesting. And Tom said, I turned to him and said, of course not. You only allow one photo. Allow photo albums. Tom told me that was a mistake to tell my competitor that, because Mark Zuckerberg, for whatever you think of him, is a smart dude. He instantly put photo albums, and from that moment on, MySpace was going down and Facebook took off.
I mean, to be fair, MySpace was cool, but I don't think it was meant to last forever. Let's be honest.
Theory.
Well, it's interdimensional. I think it's coming from other dimensions, most of it.
There are portals, aren't there? There are people telling stories of portals that actually go back in the Native American legend.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm aware of a lot of it. And when Linda Bradshaw, on the Bradshaw Ranch, there was a portal. I mean, I've been on television now countless times talking about this, and there was a portal there. And I think it was, the ranch house is here, and the portal was about 20 feet by 30 feet.
You saw this?
No, she could. Linda could see it, but I could feel it, but I couldn't see it. But there were things coming out of that. Some nights, I spent 4.5 years in the Bradshaw Ranch, and there were some nights you could feel, I said, Linda, you know, it feels like we're in Times Square in New York right now. We've got things moving all around us. And sometimes you could smell them. Sometimes they smell like roses, and one time they smelled like burning tar.
They made it a green screen green so they can... It's about Nickelodeon. Knowing that we know about Nickelodeon, right? Like the main guy. It's kind of weird. And he did weird stuff, but a lot of people wouldn't notice. The green slime. And how every award show, the winners would get poured slime on. When they win. Yeah. They're saying that they made it green screen green so they can make it change the color. Another color. And guess what color that would be? On all your favorite kid artists. This Loki might not even be a reach.
So you ever think about the fact we have no idea what the richest people in the world do for fun? Let me give you an example of why I think about this. Meet James Jameson. Yep, same name as the Irish whiskey brand. He was a 19th century heir to the Jameson fortune. He was rich, he was bored, he was a colonialist. You know the type. And in one of his little exploration trips to the Congo, he wanted to document the locals, let's say, but not with a journal, with watercolors. According to a diary entry from someone in the expedition, and yes, this is a real account, Jameson supposedly traded goods to purchase a young girl, not to rescue, not to educate, but so he could watch her be cannibalized just to sketch it. You know, normal rich people stuff. Jameson stood by, watched, sketched, then painted it later, like it was a fun little art project. He wrote it off as a misunderstanding, but we all know that's a fucking lie. And that's just one story that we know about. One rich guy, one isolated trip, and one moment he didn't get away with completely. So now think about the ones we don't know about. What happens in the castles of the people whose names we don't even know? What do they have behind the gates so big they make Area 51 look like a dog park? You ever wonder why so many billionaires are obsessed with bunkers? Why they all happen to have their own islands? Or how they all have their own mysterious foundation or private collection? They're not spending their weekends binge watching Netflix and eating too many nerd clusters. Hey, and maybe the Jameson story was a fluke. Maybe he was just an outlier. Maybe all the other mega rich are totally not painting anything disturbing at all. Or maybe that was just the only time someone left their diary open. But sleep tight knowing your boss's boss's boss has the money to fund literally any idea and no one's there to tell him no.
This video of someone who was looking out their plane window and saw what looked to be people just sitting on the clouds. Some people in the comments that are saying that they're angels, some people are saying that they're demons, others are jokingly saying that those are the people at DreamWorks. And something about this image is just so unsettling to me. I had to Google to calm my brain a little bit, but this is actually a psychological effect called pareidolia. Essentially, we have this part of our brain in our temporal lobe. It's strictly for facial recognition, but this can misfire and cause us to see faces and objects that aren't really there. Whenever they scan this part of our brain, it lights up in the same way whenever we see real faces versus whenever we see faces in inanimate objects. So our brain perceives these things as equally meaningful, which is crazy. Our brain will seek patterns in order to make sense of things. We tend to organize visual elements into a whole instead of just parts of it. For example, all of these look like faces to me. But a really popular example of this is cloud animals, the man in the moon, and also Jesus toast. I noticed that a lot day to day with cars. Like, this is obviously a very angry car, and this is a very cute, very adorable, happy car. This phenomenon can also happen with things like music too. Like, sometimes we hear things whenever songs are played backwards or hidden messages and white noise. Or sometimes we just like hear whispers whenever we're alone. A lot of the times it's just confirmation bias. Or do you guys think these cloud people are actually something else?
Did you know in 2013, a man named Edward Snowden exposed the darkest secrets of the U.S. National Security Agency? He claimed that the government was secretly spying on millions of people across the world, monitoring their every move, every message, every call. The moment those files went public, Edward Snowden became the most wanted man by the U.S. government. The U.S. government declared him a traitor and made it clear he had to be captured at any cost. Before it was too late, Snowden knew he had to escape the U.S. On May 20th, 2013, he quietly boarded a flight from Hawaii to Hong Kong. There, he booked a hotel room and secretly met with journalists, handing over thousands of top-secret NSA documents. Within days, his leaks exploded in global headlines. He had exposed a worldwide surveillance program, and now he was in serious danger. Fearing arrest or extradition, Snowden left Hong Kong just weeks later, heading for Ecuador with a stopover in Russia. But when he landed in Moscow, his U.S. passport was canceled, leaving him stranded at the airport. For weeks, Snowden was stuck in limbo. Nowhere to go, no country willing to risk helping him. Eventually, Russia granted him asylum, and to this day, Edward Snowden remains there, far from home.
I have a master's in psychology that I do not use, but one of the creepiest things that I've ever learned about is split brain theory. There's a series of experiments done in the 1960s specifically to treat patients with severe epilepsy, essentially separating the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. And once these two halves of the brain could no longer communicate to each other, researchers noticed some very bizarre and unsettling things. We all know the differences between the left and the right brain. The left side is often very logical. The right side is more involved in like emotional processing. They found in patients with a split brain, whenever an object is shown to the right, which is processed by the left, the individual was able to name exactly what the object was. But when the same object was shown to their left side, processed by the right side of the brain, individual could not say what it was, but they could draw it. There's been cases with patients after going through the surgery where a patient's left and right hand will act completely independently of each other. For example, one hand will literally slap the other one, or a patient will reach for an object with one hand while the other hand will deliberately move that object away. In one case, a patient's right hand was literally buttoning his shirt while the left hand was actively unbuttoning it, which is now for some people called alien hand syndrome. The reason that this theory and research gives me such existential dread is because it challenges us being like one consciousness. If my brain could be cut in half and they could both function independently, who am I? And it just makes me wonder how very real this could all be.
Now that would shed a lot more light on the people that are ambidextrous and the people that are only able to use like the left or the right hand. It's only a portion of your brain being used in each circumstance. So that's definitely interesting.
And away we go. So they're saying city-destroying asteroids could strike Earth within the next few weeks, and 3 are headed this way with 1,000,000 times more energy than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. What? Now, how many times have we heard this and seen this movie? And the real question is, what are they distracting us from? Oh, I don't know, maybe the fact that Dubai just launched a real estate tokenization platform on the XRP ledger. I'll say it once and I'll say it again, you guys. Everything will be tokenized, from stocks, real estate, cars, you name it. This is the next $30 trillion opportunity they don't want you a part of. And just to add fuel to the fire, crypto exchange Kraken is offering tokenized stocks for Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia. But I'm sure nobody heard about this because we're worried about asteroids hitting the Earth. Not to mention, they are rolling out a brand new COVID variant that's spreading across the US right now, in which it's happening in California, Washington, Virginia, New York, and many more. But I'm sorry, we're not falling for this again. I'm not buying it. I mean, is it just a coincidence at the same time that China's largest broker just launched tokenized securities in Hong Kong? Interesting. I'm just saying, every time we have these disasters, a financial shift is happening. So just funny timing. Make sure you guys join my Break the Matrix community where I teach tokenization, cryptocurrency, blockchain, because this has to do with your pockets. This is the brand new industrial age, so you don't want to get left behind because institutions can't control this. They can only participate. But what do you guys think about all this? Are we believing this? Let me know below.
So we found a video of Justin Bieber's wife, Hailey Bieber, coming out saying that she did witchcraft to get Justin Bieber. Yes, I know that sounded crazy. It was crazy when I seen the video, but it is in fact true. Check out this clip.
Last but not least, this is a little tincture potion that I got. I would say probably when I was around 12, my dad flew me to go meet with this witch who lived in the mountains, and she made this specifically for me. She told me that it would make a young Canadian pop star fall in love with me. So yeah, I've been taking this one for years. Absolutely love it. And yeah, thanks, Dad.
We also see different pictures like this. We see her messing with different crystals like this. And now we see Justin Bieber like this. Last time I seen somebody like that was Ben Affleck with J-Lo. And we know exactly how J-Lo got Ben Affleck, and it was through witchcraft. We know that J-Lo does witchcraft because her first husband told us. He told us how they went to the witch doctor. He told us how different animal blood was poured all on J-Lo. This is what her first husband said. So we understand that if somebody does witchcraft to get a man, they may get him, but that happiness will not last, that joy will not last. Sooner or later, they will be tormented, and the energy inside of them will be drained. I don't know who's seen the last performance with Justin Bieber with SZA, but it truly was heartbreaking to see and looked like a cry for help. The boy needs help. Now, I pray that's not the situation with Hailey, but if it is, deliverance needs to be happening. And Justin needs to come on home to the Lord, meaning he needs to repent, get right with God, and come back into a place of submission. Only true peace lies in the Lord, Justin. Everything else is counterfeit. It's all bondage. It's all vanity. Come back home to the Lord. Allow deliverance to happen. Whatever has been come into agreement with, cancel it out in the name of Jesus. Pray for Justin, people. He definitely needs it.
Hopefully, the older you get, you realize you don't want to manipulate your way into anything. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And it seems like some people are hell-bent on getting whatever they want by any means, man. That's crazy.
This is Stuart Bathwater, the blind farmer who can tell the future, and you will not believe what he's predicting for next month. And I'm saying, look, 2025 has already been hard enough. We don't need this, Stuart. But, Stuart went blind deaf about 2 years ago. He was working on a tractor and hot oil shot up into his eyes. You can see his eyes are quite cloudy. And then he fell down and a twig stuck through his ears, straight through both of them, and ripped out his eardrum. So he can no longer see or hear. And for whatever reason, following a few weeks when he came out of the coma, he had the ability to tell the future, and he can tell it with acute accuracy. He writes it down on paper. For instance, just last week he wrote, "The fighter among us who cook warm meals will no longer walk among us next week." And I'm sure he was referring to George Foreman, who passed away this week of a fatality death. But anyway, what he's saying about next month, maybe I'll post it, but I don't think we can all handle it.
George Foreman definitely changed the game. I'm pretty sure everybody owned a George Foreman grill at some point in time, man. It's crazy.
Those you've taken inside your house can now be located. Check this out. We're gonna start with this random bed frame in San Francisco. Watch this. First, I'm gonna go to GeoSpy, and I'm gonna try to upload that same image. And then we're gonna search. Now I'm gonna wait. And while I'm waiting, it's searching through the huge database looking for interior photos. Here's the original photo, and here's another angle from that room, and another angle with the same address. Wild. This tool will only be used for suspects in child crime related cases, but any other service could come out in the future with the same thing, so be careful what you post and stay safe.
All this new tech is going to take us back to a time when Facebook, MySpace, Instagram, all wasn't a thing, and people weren't posting their locations, people weren't telling all their business. It might be a good thing, I'll keep the GPS, that comes in handy, but they can keep everything else.
Simon Magus. He is one of the most mysterious and controversial figures in early Christianity. He appears in the book of Acts as a powerful sorcerer who amazed the people of Samaria with his miraculous abilities. Many even called him the great power of God because of the wonders he performed. But when the apostle Philip arrived, preaching about Jesus, Simon seemed to have a change of heart. He was baptized and followed the apostles, appearing to accept the Christian faith. But things took a dark turn when Peter and John arrived. They laid hands on believers, granting them the Holy Spirit, and Simon was fascinated by their power. Instead of seeking spiritual enlightenment, he offered them money, hoping to buy the ability to give others the Holy Spirit. Peter rebuked him immediately, saying, "May your money perish with you because you thought you could buy the gift of God with money." Fearful of punishment, Simon begged them to pray for him. But this moment cemented his reputation as someone who sought divine power for selfish reasons, giving rise to the term simony, the sin of trying to buy or sell spiritual authority. While the biblical account ends there, Christian tradition tells an even darker story. Early church fathers like Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, and Hippolytus accused Simon Magus of being the founder of Gnosticism, a movement that preached secret knowledge and saw the material world as corrupt and fallen. According to these accounts, Simon declared himself divine, claiming to be the incarnation of God in human form. But perhaps the most dramatic tale about Simon Magus takes place in Rome, where he allegedly gained the favor of Emperor Nero. According to the apocryphal Acts of Peter, Simon challenged the apostle Peter to a battle of miracles, claiming he could prove his divine power. In a spectacular display, Simon levitated high into the air, astonishing the crowd. But Peter, through the power of prayer, caused Simon to fall from the sky, crashing to the ground and ultimately dying from his injuries. This legendary battle became a symbol of the struggle between Christianity and pagan magic in the ancient world. Over time, Simon Magus became a symbol of heresy, deception, and the misuse of spiritual power. The Christian tradition remembers him as the first false prophet, the man who tried to buy the gifts of God. But in some esoteric and occult traditions, Simon is seen in a different light, not as a villain, but as a misunderstood mystic, an early teacher of hidden wisdom that was later suppressed by the church.
Just a quick reminder, Discord hands over all of your messages to the US government. They've been doing it for the past 10 years. The U.S. government's had a backdoor into Discord for a long time now. I don't understand why you think all of your organizing for what you're doing, political movements, isn't being seen. Because it absolutely is.
We have breaking news, and yes, this is real. Scientists are quietly warning that 3 massive city-killer asteroids could be on a collision course with Earth, and most people have no idea. A new study reveals that asteroids 2020 SB, 524522, and 2020 CL1 orbit near Venus, hidden by the sun's glare, making them nearly invisible to Earth's telescopes. These space rocks are massive, big enough to wipe out entire cities and unleash a blast 1,000,000 times stronger than the Hiroshima bomb. Here's where it gets unsettling. If one were headed our way, we'd only have 2 to 4 weeks notice. Not nearly enough time to launch a deflection mission, which usually takes years. Researchers admit that our best shot at spotting these hidden threats is a dedicated space mission near Venus. But so far, there's no sign of urgency from the global powers. So the question is, why aren't we hearing more about this? And if the clock is ticking, are we even prepared? Sometimes the real danger isn't what we know, it's what we're not being told.
There's certainly something going to happen in 2027, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've also heard 2034, and I've also heard other dates, much later. But depends who you talk to. Some people say it's a pole reversal. Some people say it's an asteroid hitting the planet. Some people say it's AI reaching quantum, and then all of a sudden we lose the capacity to have control of our own computer systems. I have no idea. What I am aware of is that everybody's telling me we're on borrowed time. And I cannot begin to emphasize how serious a look I get when I say to people who are confiding in me, what's the timescale on this? And they're urging me to be urgent. They're saying to me, people need the right to know this. They have a right to know this. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? And I feel like shaking these people and saying, for God's sake, just bloody tell me. And they are all constrained by their national security oaths. They want the public to know this.
This, to me, is really important. So there's a tablet in the British Museum, and this is Irvin Finkel, and he's about to read out a part of it. I'm just going to let it play, and then I'll say my thoughts.
No, we don't want to extrapolate too much on the basis of later things, but it's an interesting word. And she, one of these women, saw the god Marduk in a chapel.
So a lady saw Marduk, who was more than likely at this point in time Yahweh, in a chapel. She was so flabbergasted that she wrote about it in a tablet and went round and showed everyone this tablet and said, I saw Marduk, I saw Marduk. Now, unfortunately, because he works for the British Museum, he says that she may have saw a statue. Now, if she's gone into the chapel before, she probably would have seen the same. So, no, it was a real... Because he can't say that Marduk's real, because that means the Anunnaki are real. So, I'll let you guess which one's right.
If you look at all the paranormal phenomena on this planet, I've tried to understand it and figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I can't figure it out. Mm-hmm. But I've been through most of the material. Farrell and I did a great 2-hour interview called Who is Mr. Global? Mm-hmm. And we went through every different hypotheses.
What do you mean? Can you define Mr. Global?
It's the committee that runs the world. So
okay.
There's a committee at the top that makes all the big decisions. And my nickname for it is Mr. Global. So the question is, who is Mr. Global, and why is Mr. Global doing what he's doing? Because when I look at a situation, I like to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like, if I was Danny and I was doing this, what would it look like from my point of view? And so I want to put myself in why is Mr. Global doing this? What's Mr. Global's point of view? So anyway, Joseph and I went through and did Who is Mr. Global and why is he doing what he's doing? So we went through all the theories, but some of my favorite comments on the internet is they'll say, well, she worked at the White House and she knows, so she's not telling us. It's like, no, everybody at the White House is not sure.
Who's your best guess of who Mr. Global is?
I think you have intergenerational pools of capital, and right now they are over influenced by occult. So I think you have interdimensional intelligence, which is operating demonic intelligence.
Interdimensional demonic intelligence.
Yeah.
Can you remote view through time?
Yes, not a problem. You can go back in time, you can go forward in time. There's some proof that no human being operates in the moment. We're affected by our past, we're affected by our future. We know that to be true. We just don't know what the aperture is. We do know going into the past is way easier than going into the future. And the reason why is you go into the past, all the concepts that support action in the past, you're familiar with.
Would it be possible possible to manipulate time?
Yeah, I suppose you could if you had enough advance warning on something. You could be looking for it to the point that you could use it.
Intentionally possessed myself with a demon for 3 to 4 years. I'm going to expose to you guys exactly what that felt like so you guys can know if something satanic is messing with you too. One of the first things I noticed was these bursts of emotion that weren't mine. It truly feels like there is a second voice in your head. They make you start to feel like you're not worth more, or you're not good enough to hang around a certain group of people, or you're not good enough for a certain relationship. When you read the Bible, you read the Quran, and even read the Torah, it tells you that it wants to mislead you away from God. They don't want your soul, they want your life. Now, whenever I looked in the mirror, this is the deepest sign of possession. I didn't recognize myself. I did not see myself in the mirror. Every single day when I'd look myself in the eyes, it would trip me out. Another massive one is stomach problems and weirdly pressure at the top of my head. You feel this weird pressure, especially whenever you go to sleep at night, just right at the top of your head, like something's pressing down on it. And your stomach and digestive system is destroyed. Now this makes sense because they say your stomach or your gut is your second brain. It affects our mood and emotions quite a lot. They manipulate our ego and twist and bend it in a way to make us create negative bad habits. Your habits is what's feeding them. Negative habits, negative frequencies, negative emotion is what they feed off of, is what they consume, so they can go back to their buddies and say, hey, I misled this individual.
I mean, talk about taking one for the team. Like, I would never want to have to go and let a demon possess me to come back and tell you guys how it went, man. I'm sorry I can't do it. But apparently he did it for us, so, I'll let him have it.
So there's a movie called Fly Me to the Moon that just came out last year.
Right. Yes.
I think that really happened. I think 2 things were happening at the same time. They faked the moon landing to show that, because just in case the real mission, anything, they didn't make it or went down or something catastrophic, they didn't want to air that, right? So they want to air the fake one and really go to the moon landing. So I think that we really been there, but what really happened is they found out something was occupying the moon already, and they got shooed away. Okay? So Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin said, we got there, we were shooed away, and then when they landed, it rang like a bell when they landed. That means it's hollow. In which gives way to it's a base, because I don't think the moon is actually just a rock. I think it's a base. So a good colleague of mine, big homie BH, he does, security guard work for celebrities and government and everything else, right? Told me a story that he wanted to get hired, somebody wanted to hire him, Sergeant Carl Wolf. Now, he was working for NASA, and he said, hey, can you bodyguard me? I'm about to go in front of Congress and show these photos that NASA wanted me to scrub. Now, on these photos, they were saying that, scrub these so we can release them to the public. Now, what's on these photos is there is a truck-shaped type of machinery thing on there to where it's like 2 miles long, and they wanted to scrub that, right? So he says, no, I can't take the job above my pay grade. So he denies the job. His car is still getting broken into and all this other stuff weeks after. Then Sergeant Carl Wolf ends up getting hit by a car, and he's dead. So if it wasn't real, then why are people getting hit by cars? Go back to cave paintings and everything else, ancient pictures, the moon's not there, right? So
that's crazy.
Even with the moon itself, it really looks like what? The Death Star. Now you remember in Star Wars, right? The Death Star looked like what? The moon that was built and brought to a system. So I think that's what it is.
Y'all, this is what we mean by not all skin folk is kinfolk, y'all. What is this? This is not a regular person. Watch this. This is crazy, y'all. Y'all hear the noise that she's making? Watch this, y'all. Look, watch.
Hey, go on here with all that.
Oh my goodness, y'all. I lost it when she said go on ahead with all that, bro. She is not playing. Y'all, the eyes popping out. What is that about?
Hey, go on here with all that. Go on over there with all that. Go. I'm not even in the mood today. Get away.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Go.
What are you talking about? Shit. What are you talking about?
Oh my goodness, y'all. This is in North Carolina. Y'all, the type of noise this lady is making, it sounds like a car trying to start up, but it can't, y'all. That's just crazy, man. But when they told us about this demon face syndrome, people was about to start popping out. There's a lot of strange activities happening around people seeing entities and feeling entities. Just a lot of paranormal stuff in general. But this right here takes the cake. North Carolina, what is going on? Let me know down in the comments below. My goodness, what the hell? Let's get this shift. Peace in.
Do you think a large percentage of the population are NPCs?
Non-player characters, unfortunately, the default settings of this reality. We come in at a lower level of consciousness. Does everybody stay there? No. If a person is talking and thinking and acting from that state of consciousness, then you could dress up the name, but at the end of the day, it would be fair to call them NPC level of consciousness. From that perspective, there's a lot.
Because public school kind of forces you to think that way, right?
See, with public school, that's even harder because logic is supposed to be our firewall. If you're not teaching logic, then now you're just left to the susceptibility of brainwashing. Within every generation, now there's an even more slippery slope going in the direction of not having any type of ability for that critical thinking.
And that's why you're right here with me getting your critical thinking on. Because we're not just going with the flow, we're going to question some things.
Should look into this thing called Fog Reveal Access Service. Your local police department can buy your tracked information from Fog Data Service, and they buy it from Facebook, TikTok, Google, whoever. So Facebook is out there with the huge infrastructure tracking people. They sell it to somebody like Fog Data Science, and then Fog Data Science finds somebody like your local police department that want to know something about you. The craziest thing is all this can be done without a warrant. And so Fog Data Science is basically Facebook's middleman. Because Facebook can't sell this directly to your police department. That'd be obvious. Let's say the government wants to know these protesters that are out here protesting against a certain type of government regime. All they have to do is go to Fog Data Science and buy the data of anybody who goes to this protest. And so this would actually stop encouraging people's First Amendment right, because everybody's not going to be scared. They're going to be harassed by the police, because now the police can identify anybody who went to the protest.
A UFO in the shape of a pyramid, hovering. What it did next left everyone stunned.
Nope.
The object landed quietly, leaving everyone wondering what had just happened, as there was no explanation for its sudden appearance. A UFO.
Most physicists agree that time started about 14 billion years ago. What created that experience of time? This is where Kabbalah steps in and can provide us with answers of the reality that precedes the Big Bang. Before that material explosion even happens, all of us and all of reality was one thing. In that state, there is no time and space because there is nowhere to get to. It is a state of complete rest. The quality that is felt in that state, it's the quality of pure, unconditional bestowal that gives life, sustains, and guides all of nature, all of reality. There is a created being, but it is in complete connection with that governing force of reality. And when the created being begins to be separated from that frequency of bestowal through a process that Kabbalists call the shattering, it reaches 100% oppositeness. The result of that is the explosion that we identify as the origin of our universe. Instead of complete rest, now there is movement. Instead of one, there are many. The created being becomes aware of itself, distant from that reality where there's no space and time.
I'm still debating on whether or not Nikola Tesla actually existed.
I've heard that theory too. I've heard a lot of people say that because the amount of patents that he filed in a very short amount of time, it was kind of inhuman.
Yeah, but there are other sort of stranger anomalies to Tesla. For example, he never had sex, so he has no offspring. There are no descendants from him. But he did have siblings. One died. His older brother died when he was younger. It fell off a horse. But I cannot find a single living descendant. And I've reached out. I contacted his museum. They said that they didn't know the whereabouts of any of his descendants. The other thing is that if you look for video footage of him, this is a pioneer of technology who gave public talks and lectures and allegedly wrote for journals and magazines. People would pay him to come to dinner if they were having a dinner party. Everybody wanted him. He was top of the list. But there's no video footage of him, yet there is of his rival Edison, and there also is of Einstein, who once famously said that if you want to know who the most intelligent man in the world is, you need to speak to Nikola Tesla. So you've got someone at really the forefront of technology with no video footage and no living descendants and just a handful of images. We always see the same ones of him over his entire lifespan. So I find that strange. And to do what, as you quite rightly said, achieve what he did in quite a short period of time is unusual.
Now, for somebody with so much status quo and that's created so much that we use in our daily lives today, that is pretty strange. I ain't gonna lie. Let me know what you think, though.
You're making noise?
Osito?
Why?
No, dangerous.
All right, guys, I'm going to tell you what I learned this week. In 2003, DARPA funded something called the Silent Talk. The goal was communication without speaking. No sound, no movement, just thought. They were trying to decode subvocal speech, the electrical signal that the brain sends the throat before you speak. Catch them early enough and you could decode thoughts as a language before they even leave your mouth. But they didn't stop there. A secondary project explored the reverse. Can you imprint a thought into someone's mind using only frequencies? The answer was yes. They used something called microwave auditory effect, direct energy waves that bypass the ears entirely. The target hears a voice, clear, human, and internal, and it makes you think that it's coming from your own mind. Someone called it non-lethal crowd control. But think about what that means. A voice in your mind telling you to stop, telling you to turn around, or telling you to forget what you saw. You'd never question it because it wouldn't feel like an order. It would feel like your own thought. They say it was never deployed. But if it worked in 2003, what do you think they've built since then?
So I want to share with you the update regarding Apple AirPods. I've reported in the past that they are using this technology to scan people's brainwaves, collect people's thoughts, essentially reading people's minds. But now there's more information coming to surface that they're filing patents for this. I want to share with you this clip and then offer some more important insights after it. Here it is.
Did you know Apple just applied for a patent so that they can retrofit AirPods to read your mind? Or they didn't apply, they filed a patent. So what it is AirPods, they're fitting them with like electromagnetic sensors. And do you guys remember when we talked about they could hook a like brain machine up to a person and they could look at something and they could use AI to generate the picture?
Yeah.
So that technology, rather than a full helmet, they have successfully mapped via sensors in AirPods. They've successfully done the same thing. What they said, I was reading in neuroscience.com or something like that. I was reading an article and it said what they're able to do is read that sensor, and they said everybody's electromagnetic pulses are different. And so it's not just an immediate read what you're thinking and then regurgitate it. It's a process of learning. And so they mine and log all of the thoughts, all of the pulses. And
Are these in the current headphones?
They may be testing stuff, who knows?
But they said, the article I found said they did it successfully 5 years ago.
Oh, weird.
Come on, Steve.
But you know how they like updated the iPhone 15 in France with a software update so it wasn't spitting out radiation?
Oh,
they
yeah.
probably can do the same thing with all their.
We fixed the radiation. Think about the iPhone, like the heartbeat sensor and all that stuff. Not the iPhone, the watch.
Yeah.
Stuff they're taking out. Like this could be a behind the scenes. Like they're like, we don't like what you're doing with the tech, so we're trying to shut you down.
Is that If they are able to scan your brain waves, they're able to read your consciousness, what is stopping them from actually now suggesting and influencing your consciousness, manipulating your consciousness, and giving it thoughts, suggestions, subliminal suggestions to influence your consciousness, control your perception of reality? That means that collectively, all these Apple users, if they are not consenting to this, they are not aware of this, that means Apple can affect the collective consciousness of their users. This is a huge collective they control over because their user base is massive. And when you have this type of control over that many consciousness, you can really shift reality. You can take control of collective reality. This can be a problem when the company is not in the highest and greatest good for all. So this is a problem. Apple has already been proven to be a company that is in service for other nefarious reasons. Lately, they have been sued by the DOJ, so maybe they're flipping sides, but we don't really know the true intentions of Apple. But the fact that they are being very invasive with this technology, collecting people's consciousness, brain waves, brain cycles, not informing the users what they're doing with this data, this is already problematic, and it's already a problem for users not to have informed consent. And using this technology, it's also frying your brain with all these high frequency going through your brains. This is destroying your brain cells. Apple also has to inform users of the health consequences of using their devices. Now, the other thing that I want to point to is that in that movie Minority Report, they are showing to you a probable reality that they want to co-create with your consciousness. And this is the reason why they put that movie out into collective consciousness, is because they're shifting a certain portion of the collective conscious into the direction with Apple's technology. So if you have now devices that can scan people's thoughts, read people's minds, collect people's brainwaves and data, that means that if people have thoughts of committing crimes, thoughts of doing these type of activities, well, Apple's now collecting all these thoughts that you're having, right? It's going to a database somewhere, and all these companies in the US, they have backdoors to all these intel agencies. This is why this movie Minority Report is giving you a glimpse of where this technology can be leading the collective. And it's down a very dark, slippery slope of having total control of people's consciousness, that you lose free will. You don't even have control of your thoughts anymore, and you don't have privacy to the point where they can invade your privacy and then intercept you before any thought crime can be created. This is a huge invasion of people's free will, a violation, obviously, and it's against divine universal law.
So much information in that clip specifically. I definitely do have a few videos that talk about what they're doing with those AirPods. And, it's a real thing. And messages being displayed through movies and television shows, that's a real thing. Definitely a real thing. But let me know what you think. Well, you guys, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for stopping by yet again and watching another one with me. If you haven't already, smash that like button for me. Smash that subscribe button. Join the iTrack fam. Stay up to date with the latest, greatest, interesting, and creepy videos that I find all across the internet. And I will definitely catch you on the next one.